Welcome back, Audie. It's good to be with you again today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm good now. It's been a great week. My kids are out of school officially today. We went to their little
Good.
like end of school stuff today, and so they're here. Summer's here. We're just going to be lazy and enter in this weekend with like they're renting an old Star Wars movie, but new to them tonight.
That's
And
good.
we've got a fun weekend planned with just like local stuff. So,
Oh, that's
what's going on in
good.
your world?
My husband is not feeling well. He woke up this morning
Oh,
not feeling good. No fever or anything like that, just kind of like a little bit of a cold. And so he went into work late this morning, and I think he's gonna come home early too. So I'm really hoping he feels better tomorrow, but if not, we might just start the weekend off early and do a little bit of stuff time together. That'll be fun. I'm out of honey. I need to go to the farmer's market and get some honey. But that's really all we have planned, I think, for this weekend, unless I'm missing something. Which actually runs right into my humble pie,
yeah, let's hear it.
if I may. Um, so I had figured out my humble pie last night. I was actually in the shower and I was like, oh, you know what? This will be a great humble pie. Totally gonna do that. And then this morning I was thinking, wait a minute, what was my humble pie? So that's my first humble pie is I forgot my humble pie. The second humble pie is the original humble pie, which is again, unless I forgot something this weekend. My husband, my sister-in-law, she just turned 15 here like a month ago, I think. So she has a quince coming up this summer, and they had it all scheduled, and I had thought it was on July the 19th. I'm not going to tell you when it actually is, but I thought it was on July the 19th. So we're trying to schedule a baptism for the new baby. And I was talking to my mother-in-law and I was like, oh, well, it can't be done on the 19th because of the quince. And she's like looking at me like, what quince? And I was like, your daughter's? And she was like, no, like it's not on the 19th. And so, Regan, there's something on July the 19th. I
Uh-oh.
don't know what it is.
Oh no.
I have no idea what it is. It's not the quince, so I've got that on a different day on my calendar. But as I genuinely, I have no idea what it what it is. But
Oh.
I've forgotten something that's on the 19th.
Okay, do
And
you know the date for the quince now? Do you
I
have that on
do.
your
That
schedule?
is
Okay, good.
clear. It is on my calendar. That one we
Okay,
won't
good.
be missing. However, whatever's on the 19th, again, if somebody's listening to this and you know what, send me a message.
If anybody knows, please text her and tell
If
her. I don't
anybody
know.
knows. That's so funny. But yeah, that's I just the humble pie. I'm a little lighter on the humble pie today. However, it's could
It
still
could
be
come. This
severe.
might be in the next season of what you missed. That was
Right.
so brutal. I've been trying to think of my humble pie, and it's just been like no like big blunders that I know of. I'm trying to think. It's been just kind of a smooth week. I would just say like where I am being asked to be more humble and like should look at my humility is in my body as it's slowly
Mm.
healing, slowly going back to its normal shape,
Yeah.
but it's so slow. And so then there are those highs and lows too, where one day you're like, dang, that's looking much better. And then you're like, oh, no, that's still don't fit in those shorts. Okay, great.
Yep.
So there's just a lot of humility there. And I truly believe that this is a 1 to 2 year process of returning to
Hmm.
your new self, to your new body. But I'm just eating some humble pie, and it's very high calorie right now.
Calorie humble pie. That's so good. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I love that.
So are you ready to kind of dig into the topic a little bit?
I would love to.
Okay, so then let's enter into this topic a little bit. We've been discussing why we tend to want to be the fixers in our family, in our relationships, even like in our workplace. Sometimes at church, I'll see something that is just not high quality, and I'm like
Hmm.
trying all I can do not to fix it and not to be like, I'll volunteer and do that. And so just kind of looking around our lives and going, where in my family, friend group, church, wherever, am I feeling kind of like, I want to fix this, I want to make this better, but why, nobody really wants me to fix this. They're all good. They don't
Mm.
really, they're not asking for my help. I'm trying to interject my help. Do you experience that in your life some?
Yeah, I experienced that similarly, but not exactly the same. Like mine is more of a whenever I fix something, or when I have fixed something in the past, because I do not do it anymore. Whenever I fixed something like that in the past, specifically in my childhood, it was something that like it had to be done, like kind of like say like the house is on fire. Like there's a raging like roaring fire that's like happening in front of you and like everybody else is kind of like frozen. It's like okay, so I either like watch the entire house be burnt down or like I like step in and I like put douse the flames. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of similar but also different in the sense of um if it doesn't happen, it's like catastrophic, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And not just these little things around your family or church or whatever. It's like a big deal.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say not these little things because those are still big things. Like there's a reason why like those are attractive to fix because it's like, oh wow, I see this thing and I can make it like 10 times better and it would be great for everybody. Um, and so like I wouldn't say necessarily little, but I say they're super similar, but just in like completely different aspects of
Mm-hmm.
it kind of like I should let the house burn down. I should just let the house burn down. Like it's not my job to go douse the flames. Like I'm not the firefighter. Like that's not what I'm supposed to do. Um, I could, and I have,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that I should,
Well, and
or that
we're
anybody
in
wants
speaking
me to
in
either.
well, yeah, and we're speaking in analogy. So like
Yeah,
obviously you would actually throw some water on that
I
fire,
would
you
put
know.
the fire out. I would put the fire out.
But since we're in such an intense analogy of the fire, I was thinking just for this conversation to kind of start it in a place where we are feeling like if you kind of feel like you're the one that holds all the pieces together in your family,
Hmm.
or if you're kind of feeling like I'm the one that holds everything together, but I'm silently falling apart,
Yeah,
or I'm always the mean one because I'm so busy doing all the stuff and no one else is even worried about it. I'm carrying so much and
yeah.
fixing so much and feel like I'm like holding all the pieces down and they're just falling apart and falling apart.
Hmm.
And so I'm not who I want to be because I'm exhausted from this job.
Yeah.
Whether it's big things, little things, whatever, but that pressure to take care of things that nobody's asking you to take care of and do that
Hmm.
labor, that emotional labor of fixing and being aware of problems.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the emotional labor. Like that's really good. It's emotional labor. That's exactly what it is. Um, wow. I'm like, sorry, I'm like shocked a little bit. I'm like, that's really good.
Well, that
Wow.
yeah, that because it's you feel it. It's kind of like when mom versus dad in the modern world. A lot of times we have equal parents, equal spouses, but the mom has a lot of invisible load, that invisible
Hmm.
burden of the whole asking the dad
Hmm.
for help or those kind of things. I think that's one of these. This is an invisible burden that people don't realize is so heavy, but
Yeah.
also no one's asking us to carry it.
Yeah.
So, where do
Ugh.
you have a specific situation in your life where you're kind of like, this is where I used to
I
struggle fixing or interjecting my help?
Yeah, there's like a handful of places, and like mine started in childhood, and it was less for me, it was less fixing, and it was more like saving or like being a savior of some sort or rescuer. Where like I'll give an example. My dad, he he loves to go hunting, and so like hunting is expensive to buy ammunition and whatnot. So he got into reloading. And I remember he had like a little reloading machine, and like you would just like pull this lever, and it would like kick out the old primer and the casing, and then it would like drop in a new one, and you'd like put it back in. So there was like this little tube that was about like I don't know yay long. It was a metal tube that he would like load these primers in to this tube with like a little funnel, and then he would tap the end to make sure it's good, and then he'd put it in there. Well, in this room that he was doing it in had carpet, and some of you may be able to see where I'm going with this. Um, and as he like puts the thing in, he goes to tap the tube like he always does. It's in the middle of winter, and static electricity sets off one of the primers, and so then it set off all 50 of them that were in the tube. And so primers are just it's just gunpowder, like it's just the explosive. But because it was in a metal tube, the tube had like exploded. The primer and the casing is metal as well. So like my dad's hands were like all of a sudden it was like 50 shots went off at once. And his hands were bleeding. And excuse me, luckily like everything was fine. Like he was completely okay. It was just like some aesthetic, like physical short wounds on his hands. But my mom went into like meltdown mode, like full on like triggered by I'm not sure what, but it was full on triggered. Like I can't function. My little brother was the same way. So I'm like 10 or 11 years old at this point, and I like see my dad's hands and I'm thinking I'm like, okay, there's blood and I can't see everything. So like come with me to the kitchen and we're gonna like rinse you off. So I like get the water and we rinse it and I can see, okay, it's not that bad, but like everybody's kind of freaked out because again, 50 shots at once is kind of
Mm-hmm.
terrifying. Um I'm like, yeah, just a little scary. Um but yeah, so we like clear everything up and I'm like, okay, and I'm like getting some paper towels and I don't have full memory of all of it because it was a lot. But I do remember um it was like if I don't do this, it's not gonna get done kind of
Mm,
situation. And that's something that's one of the earlier times that I remember this happening, um, where it was just like this big moment. And if I didn't take care of my dad, like my dad was gonna have to figure it out. Like the victim of this situation was gonna have to figure out how to like do that. And I'm sure he would have been capable of it. Well, maybe, I don't know. But I was like, well, I am capable of it, so I'm going to do this thing. If that makes sense.
yes. And I just want to put some labels on that story. So your dad was the victim of circumstance, and you didn't have anyone to help him, and so you came in and you kind of rescued him a little bit,
Mm,
and you rescued the family from this hardship, and that's a beautiful thing because you were capable of doing it. You were kind of forced to do it because you were nobody else is going to do it. That
yeah.
that part's less beautiful, but you made the most of your situation. And so if you look at these words like rescuer and victim, and this is a you were doing this good deed for your family so that y'all could survive, so that you could heal
Mm-hmm.
his hands and get him bandaged up, and your mom and brother could feel calm again, and you get back to some stability.
Yeah, stability and something I've been thinking about was it's also gave me like a sense of accomplishment.
Mm,
My mom and my dad and like everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, like Audie just held it down for us. Like she took care of it. Like she
mm-hmm.
told everybody that like Audie had it taken care of." And like that made me feel good because it made me feel like I was able to accomplish something. And if it, that's kind of like another earlier instance of feeling like, okay, I have to do something like that to earn my worth. Like I have to do
Mm-hmm.
these things and I have to like I'm earning this thing. Like I am not going to get those types of sentences or praise unless something like that happens, unless I step up to the plate, unless I suit up and go out there and it's again, you're 11 years old. I probably shouldn't be the only one that's able to do that. Um, and then again, like I have empathy for the entire situation, kind of after seeing it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, because it was like, I don't know what triggered my mom, but I just having two girls right now, and Lily's already like, oh, she's almost 3. Um, she does. I had spilled some coffee, and she just like she holds space for me, and it's so awesome that she can do that. And I think that's amazing. Like I want my 11-year-old to be capable of doing something like that too, if needed. But I also wouldn't want her to have to do that. And so then there's like emotions on that other side where it's like I know that like I was quote unquote kind of like forced in that into that situation, but like I know that it wasn't like purposeful. Like, oh, I'm just gonna do this. It's like, well, there's a lack here and she's filling this void and I'm gonna tell her she's doing great and here it is. Like problem solved. Everything's fixed. Um again, going back to fixing. Um
Yeah, well, and that's where it's like, okay, so that's a situation that isn't kind of indicative. You had like 10, when we were talking before this, you had like 10 plus other
Mm-hmm.
examples of less desirable, less
Yeah.
positive situations. And so I just want to show our listeners and show kind of break open this conversation with you and me here that when you do something like this as a kid over and over and you receive these messages of, okay, someone has to step up, it's me, and then I get a lot of praise after for stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
So basically you stepped kind of into a parent role
Yeah.
and as a young girl, and that's, again, in some circumstances awesome. We're so grateful when our kids have to do when they do that, but also we try our hardest to not put our kids in a situation where they have to be the parent because they're
Mm-hmm.
not, they're a child. And so if we do that over and over to our kids, okay, be the parent, be the parent, be the parent, fix the problems, solve the problems, save the family, rescue us from this situation, they might be able to do it. You did it.
Yeah.
But then what does that look like moving forward in your life? Where do you see it now that or did you see it a few years ago that you're kind of like, actually I don't like fixing this way? Did you see
Yeah.
it come up in ugly ways or like less desirable ways?
I feel like one of the ways that I saw it come up was specifically trying to I call myself a root cause girl. Like that's the way I coach. That's the way what I really focus on, especially in my coaching programs. It's like, okay, we're not just going to treat the symptoms. Like we're going to like go in and we're going to find the root cause. We're going to get you to therapy. We're going to get you more coaching. Whatever it is that you need, we're going to narrow it down and get there. And so I've been like that throughout my whole life, I realized. But once I started to find my own root causes, I had realized that fixing was just I was trying to cover symptoms, basically. It was like, okay, somebody else has this issue, or there's this issue here that's communal, and I'm the only one trying to approach it in a way that's going to be long lasting and healthy. And I'm trying to think of a specific example because I don't think I have one going on from that's like super recently because it wasn't necessarily one instance at that point. It was just kind of like an overarching um thing that happened in every conversation. It started to like bleed into every little thing. And by bleed into every little thing, I mean like say I have a conversation with my mom and she tells me this one thing and I could say something like, "Oh, well, actually, I think maybe you should try this instead." No, no, I don't think so. But in my mind, instead of just letting her have that, I was like, I need to like figure out a way to convince her to do more or to do it the way I'm thinking because I'm the one that's seeing the entire picture, which is like so incredibly arrogant of me to think that I know everything and that I have the timelines. Um, but that's kind of like it just became part of who I was, and then it was like, oh, I don't want to do that, and I don't like how this makes me feel. It stressed me out. I didn't want that control over somebody else's life. Like there's like so many
Mm-hmm.
different layers to that. So when I was able to step back and realize, oh, I don't like that, it was really great. But it also started to take people off because it's like, why aren't you trying to fix me? Like, why aren't you trying
Mm-hmm.
to, like, why aren't you caring anymore? Why aren't you giving this effort? Like, you should be giving this effort. And it's like, actually, I shouldn't have been doing this the entire time. I'm
From age
fixing the
11,
problem
shouldn't have been doing that. Yeah.
from age 11. Shouldn't have been doing it. But what about you? Because I'm interested, we, in our conversation about this, we have this similar problem, but it's like in different fonts. Like we've talked about the same thing, but
Yes.
it's
Love
completely
that.
differently. And so I would love to know what that looks like for you.
Yeah, mine is the arrogance is definitely a part of it, but it's also multifaceted, just like yours, but less of a house burning down, my dad's getting his hands bloody. No, mine was, we always talk about how you're the big T to my little T trauma. Mine was just, I was a very sensitive child and
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted stability in my home. I wanted my parents to feel calm and to be getting along.
Yeah.
And so anything that might jeopardize that to me was this big red flag.
Yeah.
So if you guys were arguing, like I'll give you, my parents won't mind me sharing this story. My parents are very motivated human beings, like super organized, like go-getters, up early, early bird gets somewhere, all that. So after work, they would come home from a long day, and I was their personal trainer for a little while, like years ago. And so I would be at their house, ready to give them a workout right at 5 o'clock when they got home. That's what they wanted. That's what they paid me to do, and we'd do that. I'd get there, and they would be bickering, and I'm like, I'm here for 1 hour, and we need to work out, and you guys are like just bickering. Like it's so annoying. Like you need a Snickers bar. Like you guys are just hangry because you had a long day and you haven't eaten in 5 hours. And it it that made me feel so icky. Just
Mhm.
was, I wanted to have a good experience with positive interactions, and I just like it just drove me crazy to go over there
Mhm.
and for us to not be getting along. And it's not just bickering in like a cute way. It was ugly bickering. It's like where
Mhm.
you're all kind of just don't
Yeah.
like them. You almost don't like yourself when you're hangry. You don't like anybody. You don't
Yeah.
like my house. I don't like myself. Like, ugh. And so for
Everything
me,
stinks.
yes, because I'm a little sensitive, I just don't want to spend 2 hours a week in that environment.
Yeah.
And because it really weighs me down, and I leave there drained, and I drain my kids, I go home to my family, and I'm not a good mom and a good wife because I felt like I just carried this heavy load.
Mhm.
It's not that heavy, but for me, it really was. And I think this is where you kind of have to decide, what am I fixing because I want to fix it for them? What
Mhm.
am I fixing because I just want to fix it for me?
Oh my gosh,
And
that's so
then
true.
and, and then also, it's okay to want to fix things for me. Like I can say, instead of, so what I did back then was I bickered back at them. I was like, you guys need
Yeah.
to eat. Why are y'all not eating? Have a 4 o'clock snack. Do this. I was just like trying to control them to get
Mhm.
them to stop the bickering.
Yeah.
And that's on me. That's not but what I could have done is I could have said, hey, I don't feel comfortable training you guys when you're grumpy. So figure out whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But let me know when you're ready to meet at this time with positive attitudes.
Mm,
And
that's
that's it.
good.
Like, and they could have said, we're not going to, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't have. They'd have been like, oh gosh, she's really like tired of us bickering. Okay, we'll put in a 4 o'clock snack.
That's
But that's
funny.
that's the difference, I think, between me trying to force it down their throats, this
Mhm.
quote unquote Snickers bar, versus just setting a boundary for my own health. Being like, I don't really want to spend time in this environment like this. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go this way.
That sounds the way you're describing it. I could and use the Snickers reference. I could literally see that commercial playing out. And I think that's so funny. I'm that's literally what's in my head right now. Um, that's
We are
hilarious.
not sponsored by
We're
Snickers.
not sponsored by Snickers. That's so funny. But yeah, no, it's you hit the nail on the head with the like the reason why we're doing it, like the reason why we're fixing, and I think that's really interesting because I think mine is solely my purpose of why is not for anybody else. I think it's fully for me. And I'll give an example. Like when I think I was 8 or 9, I can't remember. This is well known. I had a little sister. She was born early with some complications. She lived for about 5 hours. And so my mom, our family, like there were a bunch of us in the hospital room. And the doctor was kind of like giving prognosis and information, and there were a bunch of adults around me who were crying. And so I saw a Kleenex box and I just like kind of like made my way around the room, and I realize now, like I wasn't doing that to fix them, but I didn't quite understand everything that was happening. For instance, we left. My sister had passed. I didn't know she had died. Like there was this complete giant miscommunication where I was just didn't figure anything out until like the funeral was happening, which was crazy. But I had realized, and Reagan, this is something that I've realized I've done in every single fix it situation, is I wanted desperately someone to be my rock. So that's what I became for literally everyone else. Is I just wanted somebody to be there no matter what, and like fall apart or lean on and not give me like what like unconditional love. And I thought if I gave that, then that was going to fix that problem. And that's not how it works. Come to find out, guys, not how it works. Um, but that's what I wanted, is I wanted somebody to be able to be there for me, and I thought if I could create that for others, then I would somehow get that in return. Um, and so I think it's really interesting because once like identifying it, I think I knew that for a while, but the more work I've done, the more coaching I've done, the more we've like dive deeper into this topic, it's just become so prominent, I guess. Like a very like neon flashing like this is what you needed, this is what you needed. And I think it's beautiful because I've been able to create that. I feel like my husband is absolutely that person. And then I've also been able to learn how to be that person for myself as well. And then lean on God to do that for
Hmm.
me as well. But the timing just wasn't there.
Yeah, that's so beautiful because what you're showing us is that you suppressed your needs and you showed up for everybody else and then you were crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it, it's so obvious for a little child. Like obviously she looked strong on the outside. We all know that that little girl was crumbling on the inside during
Yeah.
hospital and funeral, and her parents are so sad and she's going through all of this. Like you're we sometimes today I like to look at myself in my life holding it all together and be like, I'm fine. But you know that that little girl wasn't fine. You know that you
Mm-hmm.
in that moment weren't fine. But we just suppress it and we move on and we try to just give and fix instead of recognizing what we need. And you had to do that at that age because no one was there to give you what you needed. But now we don't. Now you're like what you're saying is now I get my needs met from myself, God, and my husband.
Yeah.
And but if we're all still suppressing our needs, we don't admit that we actually need a rock in our
Yeah.
lives, or maybe something. Maybe for me, mine is connection. I really want
Mm,
connection, deep, like people to see me and hear me and be connected to me. And if I don't get that from myself and God and my husband and my friends, then I'm trying to force it.
yeah.
And I start fixing and fixating on forcing this with everyone. And
Yeah.
I think it makes me think of all the people who can't help but give advice. Um,
Yeah.
all the people, I mean, I've been there. Something sometimes I still struggle with you when you say that you're sick or you're hurting or something. I'm like, let me give you a remedy right now. Let me pull it out of my purse. Like, here you go.
No, I do the same thing. I
Because,
just did that with my sister.
right? And it's not evil or anything, but it's like, dude, we're like, they didn't text you because they want you to fix it. They text you because they just want to be connected to you and have a
Yeah.
rock in their corner. And that's all. Like, but if we're still obsessed with like trying to meet our own needs through fixing others, then it kind of
Mm-hmm.
comes out. How many people I have so many clients with adult children who are like, I I'm going to tell this to my daughter. I'm going to tell this to my son. I'm going to tell like we all
Mm-hmm.
they're learning literally just to regurgitate it to their child, which me too, right? Me too. Um, but then their child doesn't want it, and
Yeah.
it's that's the hard part of um why am I trying to fix something that they're not even trying to fix? What's going
Yeah.
on here?
Yeah. That reminds me of it's the story in the Bible. The rich young ruler, I think. I haven't verified that's the actual name, but like this basically this like rich man comes up to Jesus and is like, "Lord, what can I do to like to be saved, to receive salvation? Like what is it that's going to get me to heaven with you?" And he says this man is struggling with like material possessions and money, and Jesus says you need to give up everything, go give it away to the poor, and that's all you've got to do. Like give it all away. And he basically like is met with I I'm what? Like I'm not gonna do that. Like and I think it's so crazy. It's so good because I see myself in Jesus now. Like I feel like I'm reflecting that a little bit more now where it's like I'm giving you this information. You can do with it what you're going to, but I'm not going to try to convince you. I'm not going to try to guide you more. I'm not going to try to do any of that. I'm going to step away and you're going to make the decision on your own. And before, it would have been like, instead, Jesus would be like, hey, but no, this is the reason why you need to do it. Like, you've got to do it like this way because this is what you're struggling with, and getting rid of this, working through this, and this, and then you're gonna get here, and it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be so good. But imagine Jesus had done that and like pandered, and I can't. I think it's so interesting because I don't think we don't know the timing, we don't know the place, we don't know what's going to happen, and maybe
We're not them.
we're not them, and we can't control them. And even Jesus like left the will up to this person. It's like, okay, this is yours. I'm not going to make this decision for you. Like, you have free will. And we don't know the outcome of this man, I don't think.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe we know the outcome of this man, but I think it's
Hmm.
so interesting because we don't know the timing. Like, he may have needed to take this information and stew on it for years and then figure out, oh, I have this problem. And then he got rid of it. And then that was it. He did what Jesus asked him, but it was a few years later. And I don't know. I feel like there's so much. We obviously want to say yes to the Lord as soon as possible. Like, when we hear the call, we want to be ready. But sometimes we aren't ready. And there's a lot of shame and guilt around that. But also, it's kind of the same where Jesus has told us, okay, let's just say this one thing, and you need to back away. Like, you need to let them make the decision. You need to watch the house burn down. Like, this is not your house to go in. And again, if the house was actually on fire, I would put it out. But we're talking about metaphorical fires. Um, but I don't know. Like, what does that
So,
bring to you?
yeah, so okay, yes. So, coaching is so much like the story that you just gave. I think when I first hired a
Mm,
coach, I thought that she was going to say, you should do this, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, you need to wake up earlier, you need to work harder, you need to be more disciplined, you need to read
yeah.
more. And that's not coaching.
Mm-hmm.
That is maybe somebody helping you strategize, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not coaching. Coaching is truly being like Christ and saying, okay, let me help you see it all clearly. Tell me what you want. And that rich man said, I want to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do it? And Jesus was like, okay, here's how you do it. And then he was like, I'm not ready. Okay. And so the coach is like, great. Do you want me to help you get ready? And they can say, yes, help me, or no. Like,
Yeah.
we find all the roadblocks that are in your heart, in your situation, in your home, in your marriage, in your friendships that are preventing you from being ready to receive that blessing. He
Yeah.
wasn't ready, but I bet you're right. Like, I bet that he has a full life of learning and having these moments, and other people brought to him, and the Spirit brought like through other people for
Mm-hmm.
him to see that call over and over and over to detach from wealth, detach from material goods.
Yeah.
And eventually he might have gotten there. And that's what we do as coaches. We're never like, you should. It's more of like a, tell me what you want and let me see why you're not ready for that. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just help you get ready if that's what you want.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's so true. And like, I know you had just said that you've always been like highly emotional, or like highly sensitive. I'm sorry. Um,
Both.
both.
It's all the same thing.
You had said you were highly sensitive, highly emotional, and I think that's really interesting because I want to correlate it to this story because I don't think necessarily that any one piece of that is like, there's nothing that could be like positive or negative, in the sense of, okay, Jesus is calling me to get rid of all this stuff because I have this issue of material things, or I'm accumulating wealth because I'm obsessed with it, or money or power or whatever it is. um we can look at that as a negative, or just like maybe we could theorize this guy figured it out, is he was like, "Oh, I now see that this was calling me to do deeper work and learn something else about myself." And so the highly sensitive or highly emotional part, I think it's beautiful because it's kind of like we're victims of circumstance in the sense, like, this guy probably didn't just like, he wasn't born thinking, "Oh yeah, money and power," you know? Like, but it gives us this call and this opportunity to like wave through, like, to pick things out that we love about it. And so, like, you've taken that piece, you've picked things out that you love about it, and you've said that that this has shaped me, this is the way I am, and instead of trying to control other people in order to fix this or make me feel better, you're just fully leaning into the fact that and it's beautiful. You're fully leaning into your emotions and your sensitivity, and you're like, this is what I want to do in order to like feed and nurture and care for this part of me. And so I want to on air here like tell everybody like that is such a beautiful thing because you could absolutely hate that about yourself. Like you could say I can't do this and I don't like this part of me, and like that would be okay too. You could be like I wanted to shift or I wanted to change and I actually want to form this version of myself that's like harder or more firm and okay with that. And again, our trauma like shapes us, and I say trauma, big T or little t, every little decision, all of our conditions will shape us. And I just think that it's each of these things, discovering why we're trying to fix or like what need is not being met is giving us a deeper view of ourselves and allowing us to go deeper into loving ourselves too. And so I think I honor and I love seeing you do that. You're like, I am owning this piece and I am fully leaning into it. And I think it's beautiful. And I think our listeners would agree. Like it is so admirable. And I think you're a role model for that.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and I love how you said that. Like, you're right. And I do actually feel a little bit challenged right now you've challenged me in the last 2 years to use firmer language instead of saying, a gentle, like, suggestion to click here if you want to read some more information. You're like, just put click here, Regan. Like, come on. Don't, you have to be so sensitive in your verbiage. And so, but also I'm working with a client right now who specifically said, like, I need not for you to say, how do you feel about this? About like this for homework this week. Does that feel like a good fit for you? I need you to say, do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, this many times.
Yeah.
And he just was like, I just need it more direct from my brain. So great. Okay, we can do that too. But it's teaching me, like, I have embraced my sensitivity, but also maybe in the future, God might call me to like, okay, now it's time for you to, I need you, because there is a space here where that man, the man in the story, in the biblical story there is a space to fight for him. There is a
Hmm.
time and a place to say, I care about you too much to let you walk away from this. This is Christ himself. Come on. Kind of like
Hmm.
Andrew did to his brother Peter,
Hmm.
Simon. And he's like, come on, brother, please, brother, and there's a little bit of fighting for him. And so there is a time and a place for that. But we're looking at the dysfunctional rescuer version of,
Hmm. Yeah.
okay, I'm trying to rescue people who are literally saying, stop rescuing me. I'm trying to give
Yeah.
advice to people who are like, I don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep all these pieces afloat in my family or my life or my church and my business, and nobody's asking me to do that, and it's draining me.
Yeah.
And so we're not, there is a time and a place to really fight for the other person's soul and to what's best for them, and we're always doing that, but we want to do it in a healthy way and not a dysfunctional way where we're forcing their will.
Yeah. I was gonna say, where do you think for you, where does that come from for you? Because I know, like, I've already explained where that comes from for me and why, but where does it come from for you? Like, what's your
Which part
reason?
specifically? The
Your
fixing?
reason for the fixing.
It's multifaceted, but I think if I'm going to be nice to myself, I do have a lot of qualities and gifts that make me good at listening to other people's problems, hearing their hearts. I mean, I can cry. I mean, I genuinely feel what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're crying, I'm going to be crying. If you're mad, I'm going to be mad. I can just, that is, um, that's the way I would. So it comes naturally for me to be a supporter of other people. That's
Okay.
just so that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
But then there's some negative sides of it too, and some of it has been pride and arrogance to think like I know what will fix that.
Mm-hmm.
I know better than you what will help that. But
Right.
then also, we talked about my first story of like really wanting to stabilize the chaos. If there's tension in the room,
Yeah.
I want to try to make it go away. If there's an angry person in the room, I want to try to calm them. If they're,
Yeah.
and so that is for me to see, like, Reagan, you're triggered because they're experiencing some high emotion,
Hmm.
and that's for you to deal with.
Yeah.
And then you can decide, like I said, I can decide if I just want to get over it or if I want to kind of put some distance between me and that emotion. But, it just depends on the situation. But I think a
Yeah.
lot of mine comes from that, like, fear of feeling those emotions.
Mm, that's good. Um, that lack of stability that you were saying, like the safety, like safety is something that and I think we all would agree, safety is something that is necessary. And not like safety is like I'm harnessed and I'm strapped in and like everything's okay, or like I'm wrapped in bubble wrap, but being safe to run into the burning building if you need to. Like feeling safe and
Mm.
confident in yourself that you can go and you can take care of whatever it is you need to take care of. Um there needs to be like that safety in marriage. Like I'm going to jump, and if I fall, I know you're going to be right there to either catch me or help help pick me up somehow. And so I think that that's really a necessity to have that safety in all phases. And so just like you're saying, like I think that's an underlying cause for both of us is if we have a lack of safety or a wobbly foundation, then we don't want to we're grasping for it. Like that's what both of us are doing is we're just like we're over here like trying to figure it out. Where could I get that safety? Um, and so I just find that interesting. Like, what's the difference? Say you were to try to fix before and you were to try to fix now. Like, what is the difference that you would say in the say you don't fix? Like you just sit there and your parents are just arguing and bickering or whatever. You don't say anything, you're just sitting there. Like, what's the difference between your emotional command or response then and emotional command and response now?
Now I've learned to recognize that, ooh, I'm feeling something. There's a sensation in my body, whether a tightening
Yeah.
in my chest or like redness, heat in my face or whatever it is. And so just to take that 90 seconds to lean into that emotion and meet my own needs, like, ooh,
Mm.
maybe that means I'm going to take a walk so I can do that or whatever that looks like. Maybe I'm just going
Yeah.
to get quiet for a second, kind of go inward but knowing what I need first and foremost,
Mm.
that is where you can make the decision to decide, am I going to say something to them? Am I going to leave the room? Am I going to set a boundary here? Am I going to just let this go? We have free will and we can, there is no wrong answer. But if you make a choice before you know what you're feeling, then exactly what you just said, you end up like trying to control the outcome, and you think the outcome is making peace. But the real outcome is just for you to feel better. And you
Mm.
don't have to say anything or leave the room or do anything to feel better if you know how to feel your emotions. Because you
Yeah.
can do that all inside with Christ in your body. Like you don't need to. I don't need to make my parents stop bickering. I don't need to make them eat. I don't need nothing in the outside is really that important. It's more about let me meet my own needs and feel safe on the inside and stable and connected on the inside with God. And then once I have that, then I can go, okay, what do I want to do about this situation with my parents?
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. Like there is no way of stepping forward and choosing which way you want to deal with the situation if you're still just trying to meet your own emotional need, because you're going to end up choosing whatever meets that need. And it's messy when you do that because
Yeah.
then that's again, I'm trying to force my parents to stop bickering. And that is overstepping their own free will.
And would you say
They're not,
most of your clients are doing the same thing? Or like stuck, I guess, doing it?
yes, yes. But I will say they don't realize they're doing it just like I didn't because we are actually really nice and caring people. So we look at it and we, instead of telling ourselves, like, I'm overriding their free will to make myself feel better, we do not like to hear that. That is a very hard truth that you have to get kind of. I couldn't see it until someone broke it down for me in coaching by asking me questions and peeling back layers and showing me, like, laid bare what my actual desire was. Because my clients and I both were like, No, I only want them to stop bickering because I want what's best for them,
Yeah.
because I care about them. And that's
Yeah.
just actually, it's not true. I
Yeah.
do care about them. I do want what's best for them. But in this moment, the reason I'm trying to force them to do it, even though they're not asking for it, in fact, they're getting mad at me for
Mm-hmm.
interjecting. I'm trying to force it in. I need them to fix it now, is not for their benefit. It's for mine.
Yeah.
Because, like
That's
you said,
good.
timing is, it matters. So, why am I freaking out? Why are my clients freaking out and forcing an issue with our adult child or friend or husband or whomever? Why am I forcing the issue now? Is it really for their ultimate good? Jesus didn't force the issue with the young rich man.
Yeah. I don't think Jesus ever forced anything,
No.
which is interesting. Because I mean, how many things do we force? Anyway, that's another
Yeah.
episode.
Oh, yeah.
That's another
That's a big
episode.
one. That is a big one.
Oh,
So, if you wanted to leave our listeners with a question or just a final thought, what do we want to leave them with?
I, for myself, for my niche, and I gave this a lot of thought in the shower yesterday. I was thinking the thing that I couldn't grasp myself that I had the hardest time figuring out was what I get from fixing. And like the whole spiel I just gave you about I needed somebody to be a rock for me and that's what I wasn't getting. I would say to identify that. Like, what do you get from fixing? Like, do you need support? Do you need connection? Do you need someone to take care of you? Do you need to feel unconditional love? Like, whatever it is that you are, like, does this validate you? Is this external validation? You know that like you're earning your worth. Whatever it is, however it is, I would say identify that. So, what do you get from fixing? And I'm not saying to fix it. Don't
Mm-hmm.
fix it, but identifying it because I think that that's a key and important role is naming it so specifically. Because that's something that I know both of us do in our coaching programs is when we're able to give something a name, we can dive into it deeper and we can understand it a lot better. And when we have a better understanding of something, we can then, if we don't like it, fix it. Or if it's something that we do like, we can kind of shift that mindset around and rewire our brains in order to have it be something that's healthy and not catastrophic um or just gross.
Yeah, it's just identifying patterns in our life and going, huh, do I want to keep that or toss it?
Yeah.
But if you don't have it identified, if you haven't labeled it, if you don't really know your own patterns, then it just continues to happen and you have no idea why.
Yep.
So I
And
just
then
love
you're
how
a
you put that.
victim. Don't be a
Yeah,
victim. You don't have to be a
ex-
victim.
to our own life. Yeah.
Yep.
For mine, I think we wouldn't be able to identify. Like I worked with someone this week and it's the same thing every time, and I feel so connected to it because it's my same struggle. But it's like I'm fine, everything's fine. Okay, great. Hear you. You're fine. Me too. Nothing's ever wrong. Um, but let me try to think of the specific breakdown. It was like I'm fine. They're just being rude. Someone else is just being ugly.
Mm.
Okay, what's underneath that? What would happen if you just let them be rude? Well, it would pile up on me. Okay, what would happen if it piled up on you? Um, that would be overwhelming. That's not fair. I don't want it to pile up on me. That's not okay. Okay, but what if it did? What if it piled up on you? What's so scary about it piling up on you? I might say something I regret. Okay, why is that a problem? What's going on with that? I don't want to lose it in front of people. I don't want to lose my cool and show people this like less than smiling, masking side of me?
Yeah.
So that's how we all of my clients are. That's how I am. It's like at the top we're fine, at the bottom we're like, I am this close to yelling at them and I don't want to do that.
I'm this
So
close from snapping.
yes, to whatever that is. Maybe that means I'm about to like just go to my room and close the door for 2 days. Maybe that means I'm
Yeah.
going to yell or say something I regret or snip or gossip or whatever it is. But it's like I am this close and I'm doing everything I can. And we don't see at the top that we just suppress, suppress, suppress. So um, for my clients, it's more about asking ourselves when I'm about to interject and give someone asked for advice, that nobody requested for me and I'm giving them advice, or I'm trying to fix something or solve something in their life, if I were to be quiet and just hold that in and just choose not to say it, what sensations am I feeling in my body? What thoughts are coming up? And just starting to like peel back those layers of what would happen if that were true? What would happen if that were true? But just really, that's really coaching. So I know that's hard, but just step one by yourself would just be, I really want to fix this. I'm not going to. So what's going on in my body right now? What are my thoughts and what are my sensations?
Yeah.
And just that will just break open so much awareness right there.
That's really good, Regan.
Awesome. Any final thoughts? Does that feel good?
It feels really good. I can't think of anything other than like if somebody knows what happens on July 19th, I would really appreciate some help. Other than that, I have nothing.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for this conversation, and we will meet you again next week.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Weekly Fellowship Podcast. If you'd like to work with Regan, you can learn more about her on her website at reganclementcoaching.com.
And if you'd like to work with Audye, you can find her at audyegonzalez.com.